Now, that story came to us via email. If you want to get in touch, then drop me an email, john.cuthill@bbc.co.uk. Still to come.
The family motor they all want to drive.
When I own 50%,
That's new to me.
I'm allowed to polish her.
Next, we found evidence of thousands of cases of vulnerable children going missing whilst in the care of their local authority. Amongst them, a 5-week-old baby and a 15-year-old who went missing for more than 2 years. With more young people coming into the care system, can our councils cope? Jeremy Stern investigates.
Bournemouth town centre at night. It's no place for a 12-year-old on her own. But when Kaylee Jones was a child, she'd hang around here at all hours.
So we are at a car park that I used to sleep in. So I used to sleep on the stairs or here when it was shut at night. The floor's very cold and it's still got the same smell like 7 years later.
Kaylee had moved from London to a foster family on the south coast. Such a big change left her feeling isolated and alone.
When I first came into care, I didn't like being in care. So I didn't like the label, I didn't like living with a family that I didn't know. So I'd much rather be with my friends here than at home in the warm, because it wasn't my home at that point. So, and if you don't have a home, then a car park's not much worse than a house.
The rate at which children are taken into care in the region is rising, but not as sharply as the rate at which they go missing from the system. The latest annual figures show that of the 8,200 children and young people in care in the south, 1 in 6 went missing, and most of them more than once. Now, every single missing episode must be recorded. It works out to 20 reports a day. Missing episodes can amount to less than an hour. But the Children's Commissioner, Anne Longfield, is concerned about those who go AWOL for days, weeks, months, even years.
These are the most vulnerable of the most vulnerable. But if you have its most complex needs, and you're going through the teenage years where you're trying to kind of work out the world around you, and you've got peer pressure going on, that's a lot to cope with. They're the ones that I think we should be very, very aware of, because if they go missing, then actually it's a huge sign that things are going wrong.
Kaylee's meeting up with her foster mum, who looked after her for 6 years.
I love cuddles.
To protect the children she currently cares for, we're not showing her face.
Oh my God, that's awful. The eyebrows weren't so good.
Social services stepped in when Kaylee was 11. With a chaotic home life, she was in trouble with the police, and her mum wasn't coping.
I don't know, I'm not smiling that much there.
But no sooner had Kaylee arrived in Bournemouth than she was planning her escape.
So do you remember the first time I ran away?
Yes, I do, Kaylee.
Okay.
When you ran away to London?
Yes.
Was it for 13 days or 10?
13 days. Yeah, so how did that make you feel when I ran away?
Because you were still 12, really anxious.
Okay.
And then it went on and on and on, and it caused lots of anxious moments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're okay,
Did you like miss out on sleep or?
Lots.
Yeah.
And the worry, and just it was the thought of what could have happened to you, because we didn't have a clue where you were.
Sometimes Kaylee would arrange to meet her birth mum and they'd run off together.
We stayed in like parks and stuff, and like would set fire to paper to keep warm, and then we stayed in hospital waiting rooms for a few days. But then we had to come back because my mum got too ill, so she had to stay in hospital. And then I ran away again with my friend to London.
There was no warning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kaylee was looking for a new start, but at times she just found trouble.
There was danger all the time, kind of sleeping in parks and stuff like that was quite dangerous. But the first time I went, I was in Deptford. So, and I was at an ice cream van and some guys started talking to me and I was like, I don't know who you are, like, leave me alone. And then they got like a concrete slab off the side of a balcony and they'd thrown it at my head and it had split my head open.
The charity Missing People interviewed hundreds of looked-after children. Josie Allen told me their new research shows 1 in 5 who ran away was sexually abused. Others were targeted by criminal gangs.
Children who've been taken into care will often have experienced really difficult challenges already in their life. That might be abuse, it might be neglect, it might just be that they didn't have anywhere safe to be, and that can make them more vulnerable to exploitation. It can mean that they are targeted by those groomers, and it can actually mean that they're at much higher risk.
We found out that a 5-week-old baby went missing in the south who was in care. A teenager went missing for 2 years. How does this even happen?
It is shocking what can happen when children are not kept safe and do go missing. Some do remain missing long term, and that can never be okay. We think that more needs to be done in the first few hours, days, to make sure that these children don't stay missing for longer.
With the baby that went missing for nearly 4 hours, the local authority told us it was possibly down to a miscommunication between guardians. National policies now being strengthened to protect vulnerable children. The government says that strict rules around how children's homes are managed are being tightened up. The aim is to prevent looked-after children from running away. But if they do go missing, ministers say it's vital that the response is handled in the right manner. Social workers, politicians, the police, NHS, foster parents, they can all be involved when a child goes missing from care. Helping these young people isn't always easy. Some don't want to be helped, but Anne Longfield says the authorities must not let them slip off the radar.
You know, there's a lot of policy around children in care, there's a lot of attention and the like, and I think things are getting better. But for this group, my fear is that they're getting left behind. My fear is that they're too complicated for the system as it stands to deal with, and there aren't the right mechanisms in place to ensure that they're not only safe, but actually they've got ambition for life, they can see a future, they're on a trajectory and getting ready for an adult life, which we'd all want for our kids.
After her troubled childhood, Kaylee's trajectory is now on the up. She used to avoid the authorities, but now works with Bournemouth Borough Council.
I've come such a long way. I still get moments sometimes, but sometimes obviously you still want to run away from life and stuff like that. But I'm quite independent now, so I don't have to run away from anyone.
Instead, she draws on her own life experiences to help other care leavers.
So we're at Kings Park. This is one of the places that I used to stay when I ran away. Especially when I couldn't get to London because I had no money. If the gate was open, then we used to come in here and would sleep here on our jackets and sort of in the corners to keep warm and keep sheltered from the rain. So it's strange, definitely knowing that I'm coming back here not to run away and kind of just visit it. It reminds me of running away and kind of how far I've come since then as well. Even though it's a sad memory of why I used to come here, it's quite positive to come back and look and see the difference in who I am now, and actually that I don't need to sleep here at night anymore. And so I can sleep in my own bed and not have to run away to the park. Definitely a trip down memory lane.